Speculation continues to surround former Governor Tim Pawlenty's expected announcement that he is running for Minnesota governor. The fact that he has not yet made it official makes it tough for candidates who are already in the race. In the GOP caucus straw poll last month, Hennepin County Commissioner Jeff Johnson dominated, winning 45% of the vote. But Johnson is stuck waiting for Pawlenty too, even putting out a campaign video in which he says if Pawlenty does enter the race, the election would be a referendum on the former governor. And Hennepin County Commissioner Jeff Johnson joins us right now. Commissioner, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Esme.
All right. It certainly looks like Governor Pawlenty is going to jump in. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think he's already in. It's just not official yet.
All right. To what degree would the race for the GOP nomination and the primary in August be about a referendum on Tim Pawlenty? Because that's what you say in your video.
Well, I think the general election would be a referendum, whether we like it or not. I mean, Tim, if he's in the race, if he's our candidate, he will be talking about the future, I'm sure. But the issues will be about his 8 years as governor and his 5 years as a lobbyist and his comments about Donald Trump, and it will be a referendum on him. And I don't think we win if it's about the past. And if we have somebody who doesn't have that baggage, frankly, we can make this election about the future, and that's what it needs to be if Republicans want to win.
Okay. Governor Tim Pawlenty, former Governor Tim Pawlenty, is the last person, the last Republican to win a statewide race in Minnesota going back to 2002 and 2006. Isn't he the candidate that some Minnesota GOP want to have a winner?
Sure, some do. I suspect a lot of the wealthiest donors clearly do, because he had a meeting with 100 of them and got them to commit money. So he'll be able to raise a ton of money, no question. And he does have high name recognition. I don't know how much of that is positive versus negative. But I think if you want the message to be about actual change in government and not business as usual, not kind of more of the same or the status quo, he's not going to be able to pull that off, because a lot has changed since 2002, since he ran. And my message has been about fundamental change in government, about changing the culture in our state agencies like the DNR and the PCA and the Department of Commerce, from that of controlling people and directing people to actually serving the people who pay their salaries. That is going to be the message that I think a lot of Minnesotans are looking for, rather than let's just go back to 12 and 16 years ago when the focus was on making government a little more efficient. That's not going to cut it anymore.
All right. Let me ask you about another clip from that same video that you put out on Twitter and social media. So let's listen to that clip here. It's a very brief one.
They know I support our president and did before his election.
I have a question about that. You ran Marco Rubio's campaign. He won the caucuses. You certainly were not a Donald Trump supporter back in early 2016.
No, I started out with Rubio. I was actually the chair of his campaign. Then I was co-chair of Ted Cruz's campaign when Marco Rubio got out. And then when Donald Trump became our candidate, I was a supporter of Donald Trump and put out an op-ed actually in the Star Tribune making the argument that he wasn't my first choice or my second choice, but he's my choice now because I believed and still believe that he's better for the country than Hillary Clinton was, and do support him. Okay. I don't agree with it. I mean, I'm a Norwegian Lutheran from northern Minnesota. We have very different styles. But I do support where he's trying to take the country by and large.
Okay. What kind of grade would you give him as president?
I would give him, no one's asked that question before. I'd probably give him a B or a B+. There have been some disappointments, particularly signing the bill yesterday or the day before, that omnibus bill that should have never passed and is not what Republicans are supposed to stand for. But yeah, I'd say a B or a B+ would be a good grade.
Okay. Now, of course, in 2014, Minnesota voters did have a chance to vote you in as governor, and you lost to Governor Dayton by 6 percentage points. What's changed?
Well, I think a lot has changed. First of all, there's not an incumbent running, so that's something outside of my control. We have an open seat, and I think most of the national organizations are rating this as a toss-up race, or if anything, slightly leans DFL. But I think people are very open to a change in government right now. I was at the State Fair for 12 days last year, and I was at the State Fair for 12 straight days 4 years ago. And the attitude of just average, everyday, non-political Minnesotans is very different now than it was then. They are starting to see that government has become somewhat incompetent in Minnesota. They are starting to see that state agencies have become rather bullying of average Minnesotans, and there is this culture that government's job is to help people make decisions about their own lives. I think there's a very different attitude out there about what needs to happen in Minnesota to make it better than there was 4 years ago. And I think that message is resonating all over the state.
All right. Well, Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us this Sunday morning.
Thank you. Thanks, Esme.